Yes.
What's the name of the lady? Do you guys know the name of the lady? Hi! Is this a Facebook Live? Oh, just kidding.
It's just not my personal.
Oh,
Okay.
to the followers.
But I do try to save it, and then I'll post it on Facebook and tag like the college media. But
Oh yeah, smart. I love this jean jacket. Super cute.
Mm-hmm. How do they watch that? I guess just stay tuned. So just.
Attorney General.
9.
So am I talking about the general? Attorney General?
yes.
What are you talking about, Roger?
Attorney General.
I have notes in there.
Okay,
Oh, you
so-
have to.
So you want to say, you can say starting to get Champaign County results, but just from early voting. We'll have more for you at 9, and I'll be like. And until then, make sure to stay tuned and listen to UI7. Is it just UI7 radio?
It's WILL radio, right?
Is it WILL radio or UI7?
WILL.
It's still streaming on this channel. So.
We got it, y'all.
And then after that, it says I have a one shot with just Aaron.
My hands smell like pizza.
Hey, Ken.
Caroline. A4.
Yeah, how are we getting Addie? Is there a camera for her?
I'll just be the voice.
What's your story?
I'm when they start talking about Davis and Lonergan,
Oh,
the House race.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Decision 2018 UI7 coverage, presented by our election headquarters. I'm Andrea Flores.
And I'm Aaron Navarro. Ballots are being counted as voters anxiously await the results of the 2018 midterm elections. UI7 News has your election coverage.
The biggest race on the ballot tonight is who will take the governor's mansion in Springfield for the next 4 years. Early numbers are predicting that Democrat J.B. Pritzker is in the lead. He is facing, these numbers are from early voters and being projected by Fox and NBC. Incumbent Republican Bruce Rauner and Libertarian Cash Jackson and Conservative Sam McCann are also on this ballot. Again, these early poll results are from early voting, predict that J.B. Pritzker is taking this seat, and we will have more on that later.
It's kind of interesting how we have less than 1%, but it's still kind of showing the results.
Definitely, it shows quite a bit of a bias towards Pritzker, so we'll see how that turns out when more precincts report.
We'll see. Illinois Attorney General nominees include Republican Erica Harold, Democratic State Senator Kwame Raoul, and Libertarian Bubba Harshey. Illinois Secretary of State, Treasurer, and Comptroller positions are also running races. And we have Roger right here, our expert on the Champaign County races, to give us the breakdown.
Yeah, so as you touched on, the Illinois Attorney General, Erica Harold, she's from Urbana, so that's kind of get the local feel, to get that, so she might get some voters out if the polls turn her way. And just different polls that are coming in as county clerks, as we have two very competitive people as they're out there trying to win this race, and just, hopefully it turns out for the best for them.
And they're taking Gordy Holton's role, who's running for county executive.
I know, yeah, he stepped out and now he's trying to take county executive, as he's referenced it as being the mayor of Champaign. So it's a big role, and he looks like he thinks he's very prepared for that role.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. And in central Illinois, there's a tightly contested race for Congress as incumbent Rodney Davis faces off against Democratic challenger Betsy Dirksen-Londrigan in the 13th district. Addie Ippinson has the breakdown of this 13th congressional district.
Yeah, guys, definitely this is going to be a very important race to keep an eye on, not only this House seat, but the House seats all across the country, because obviously a big majority could change when it comes to the United States House of Representatives. There on your screen you can see the two candidates. We don't have too many numbers, obviously, as you can see, that came in. And what's also important to understand about the 13th district is the district itself when it comes to the map. So in Champaign itself, you're going to have more of a liberal area, but then you can't forget about that southwestern part of the district, which is going to be more conservative. So that's kind of what makes this district unique and interesting to keep an eye on tonight. And as the numbers start to roll in, both the candidates themselves obviously have a variety of issues that they talk about and that they've been campaigning on, but one really big one that they've definitely been hitting a lot on this election season has been healthcare. They both have different ways to approach the healthcare situation. Both have had very personal experiences with the healthcare system in the United States. So it'll be very interesting to see how those elections turn out. And I'll throw it back to you guys back in the studio as we get some more news in on some elections coming up.
Just getting in some breaking news right now. Incumbent Governor Bruce Rauner has now conceded in the governor's race. So we'll have more of that information up for you at our cut-in at 9 p.m. Tonight marks the first time a winner will be announced for county executive in Champaign County. It's a new position in the county and a race many people locally are watching closely. UI7's Joseph Longo met up with the candidates.
Mr. Holton is my dad.
Local Republican and current Champaign County Clerk Gordy Holton is once again in the middle of a high-profile election. He's been speaking to journalism students at the University of Illinois about how to vote, but this time he isn't up for re-election. Holton is running to be Champaign County's first ever executive.
I've been county clerk for 8 years. In that 8 years, we've used technology to reduce our headcount, reduce our expenses while expanding the services that we provide to Champaign County, and I think that's a useful template for how we're going to try and get things done as county executive.
Local voters approved of the county executive position as a November 2016 election referendum. Holton has been vying for the inaugural seat since August 2017, but he has a competitor in Darlene Klopel. Klopel, a first-time politician, entered the race over a year ago after fellow community members encouraged her to run. She has a background in community government, having spent 15 years as the Community Services Director of the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission.
I've spent my life developing startups of various kinds, and so this will be a startup, so I'm familiar with how that works, and I bring those kind of change management skills. It's always difficult to make a change, and there's always resistance, so trying to make it work well so the county doesn't waste a lot of time on it.
Both candidates are running a three-point campaign. Klopel's advocating for a new county management plan, county jail reform, and an increase in citizen involvement. Holton is focused on reforming fiscal management and independent redistricting, as well as increasing economic development. The new county executive will take on the responsibilities of the current county administrator, as well as some of the county board chair, C. Pius Weeble. However, Pius isn't convinced at the end of the day that the new position will bring change.
It's not going to be a disaster, I don't think. But again, it's not going to make things that much better, I don't think.
For UI7 News, I'm Joseph Longo.
Well, we're here with political theory professor Benjamin Miller, and one of the
big things we've seen lately is an increase in voter turnout, both here and nationwide. Now, Professor Miller, What do you think has increased voter turnout in this election?
Yeah, it seems like one of the big influences has been young voters stepping up and voting, or saying they're going to vote more than they have in the past. So in the 2014 midterms, is something like, the last data I looked at was about 26% of young folks said they were going to vote. And in this election, about 40% say they're going to vote. So that's a massive difference right there.
That is quite a massive difference.
Yeah.
What do you think of this voter turnout in terms of good news for Democrats or Republicans? What is the deal there?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally the history says that at local, state, and national level, Democrats benefit from greater turnout. Now the questions about why exactly that happens is a good question, but it seems like if the history books are right, then that trend will continue, and if turnout is high, Democrats will do better.
And on the flip side, if Republicans hold control of Congress, what big items on Trump's agenda could actually happen? For example, repealing Obamacare. What are some actual actions that can be taken?
Yeah, I think you'll see more of the same, basically. You'll see attempts to change healthcare. You'll see attempts to do some more economic deregulation of businesses, things like that. You'll also probably see a kind of attitudinal emboldenment. The idea will be that if the Republicans continue to have the House and the Senate, then that kind of says, oh, we as the country have said that we endorse what's going on currently, and they'll just try to do more of the same.
Looking at the other side of the aisle again, do we know what topics will be leading the legislative agenda if Democrats do take control of the House?
Yeah, I think that's hard, right? If you have just the House, you don't necessarily have a strong legislative agenda that you can push through. You might have all sorts of things you care about, but that doesn't mean you'll be able to do much because you just have one of the chambers and you don't have the presidency. So instead, I think what you'll see is a lot of attempts to sort of stop the things that the Republicans want to put through, which is traditionally what you see when one House holds only one piece of the branch.
Professor Miller, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
I appreciate being here. Thanks.
Well, we invite you tonight to stay with UI7 News as we cover races from around Illinois and here in Champaign-Urbana. We have breaking news right now. JB Pritzker is in the lead he is the winner of Illinois Governor. Bruce Rauner has conceded this race. He is thanking his constituency now, live, and we will have more at 9 o'clock to give you those results.
Also, make sure to tune in as the UI7 News Radio will continue the coverage right here, so make sure to stay tuned. And make sure, because our team of reporters and anchors will bring you the election coverage and reactions from Pritzker's big win right here on campus, so make sure to stay tuned for our 9 p.m. cut-in. Thank you again so much. We'll see you again at 9 o'clock.
Good evening, I'm Will Bro.
And I am Jake Hassan. Welcome to UI7's live election night coverage from the campus of the University of Illinois.
We're in a studio in Gregg Hall, and we are here bringing you live coverage of election night from Richmond Studio.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at ILLelect or follow the hashtag ILLelect for live reporter updates.
Tonight we'll be keeping you up to date on the Governor, Attorney General, 13th Congressional District, and 104th State Representative District, and County Executive and County Clerk races.
We have reporters stationed around the Champaign-Urbana area to bring live coverage from the field.
We actually have some breaking news for you from the governor's race. Governor Bruce Rauner has conceded to J.B. Pritzker just minutes after the polls have closed. This is big breaking news that has been recently brought up after this being one of the most expensive races that has been brought up to this date. J.B. Pritzker and Bruce Rauner has been spending some crazy amount of numbers on their campaigns. It's actually been record-breaking for Illinois, so it's very interesting to see how this race has turned out after ending like this.
Yeah, Pritzker obviously has been dominating the airwaves, the commercial waves. He's been all over Hulu, everything like that. Just been everywhere, and some people were speculating that it could hurt his chances, but with just about 10% of the votes in, Pritzker had an unbelievable lead, so obviously Rauner felt like that was a lead that couldn't be overcome and decided to call it quits just a couple minutes, about an hour after polls closed.
Yeah, it's crazy to think with the amount of money that was spent and how often we were seeing not only just attack ads, but just all types of ads on all sorts of platforms constantly. So this was very easily a more expensive race than it has been in the past, especially with all the crazy amount of publicity and everything that we've been seeing all the time lately.
Yeah, it felt like this race is going out with a whimper more than a bang, because we expected this to be a lot tighter for sure, and something that we'd be watching all night, because it is the governor of Illinois. It is a huge position, obviously the biggest race in Illinois, and it's over so quickly.
Well, historically, University of Illinois student voters do not turn out to vote. In the midterm election in 2014, the lowest percentage of ballots reported was 12.8% at the University YMCA. Some off-campus polling places reported over 60%. Polling places on campus include the Illini Union, the Hillel Center, the Student Dining and Residential Programs Building, as well as the University YMCA and Activities and Recreation Center, better known as the ARC.
Yeah, on campus, the Union was the most popular polling place. In 2014, almost 20% of people registered to vote at the Union, showed up, and they voted there. This year, the Illini Union also hosted early voting starting on October 25th. Across the state, there's also same-day voter registration. That means obviously that voters can go register to vote at all polling places and proceed to vote there right after they're registered. It's part of a statewide movement to get out the vote, and here are a few people expressing why they wanted to vote. Why would we play the story?
We're just waiting on our story to come up, folks. Hang on 1 second. One of the major issues in this election this year is the balance of power in Congress. Right now, Republicans hold a majority in both the House and the Senate, but if the polls are accurate, Democrats have the potential to take control of the House. Reporter Eric Sofranco has more on the balance of power in Congress could shift. So, Eric, what was the outlook for the balance of power in Congress heading into tonight?
Well, coming into tonight, the Democrats are the clear favorite to retake control of the House of Representatives. They only need a net gain of 23 seats, and if the polling is correct, they may actually end up with more than that. However, we obviously will not know until they actually vote. On the other hand, the Republicans are the clear favorite to hold on to the Senate. They currently have 51 seats and only need 50 to hold on because Vice President Mike Pence cast the tie-breaking vote in a 50-50 tie. They are actually projected to pick up seats tonight and could end up with as many as 56 seats if all the races end up going their way.
So, what is the voter turnout looking like for this midterm election as compared to previous midterm elections?
Well, turnout for this midterm election has already shattered the 2014 numbers in terms of early voting. 33 million people have actually already voted early this year compared to 20 million in 2014. There is clearly much more energy on both sides as compared to previous midterm elections, and it's all tied to whether voters approve or disapprove of President Trump. Turnout is obviously not matching the 2016 numbers because it was a presidential election, but midterms never have the same voter engagement as presidential elections.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Eric. Hold on one second, folks. On campus, the Union was the most popular polling place in 2014. Almost 20% of people registered to vote. Thank you very much, folks. We'll be heading up to break in the next few minutes.
Okay, Eric, you're free to leave the studio. Do you have the Google Docs open?
I do, yeah.
So, you know Faye is coming up, is on the board. Are you in a break? Yeah, you did say going to a break.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
You have the Google Docs open. Yeah, you
Correct, yes.
So Faye's on the line right now.
On the phone right now?
She should be feeding it.
I'm hearing the ad right now.
No, I mean, that's what I was saying. That
Yeah.
we were going to go to Faye right after, not the commercial.
Okay. What's the story called?
What?
What's the story called?
It's not a story.
It's
She's
still-
calling
it's-
in because of Pritzker.
Oh, okay.
She's calling in for Pritzker, not Rauner.
She's calling in from the Republicans.
Okay.
And then after Faye, we're going right to Taylor.
Oh, so we're not even doing this at all right now.
We're not doing the stories. We're gonna keep running with this governor's thing.
Oh God. So we're not doing the script at all. Right.
For now. Tati.
So we're not going from the script at all.
Not right now. Tati. So Faye, and then after Faye, lead into Taylor. Or are we doing?
Faye lead into Taylor.
And Taylor's with Pritzker, right?
That's not true because we can't call that back.
How long do you need to get to Taylor?
So loud.
So we're going to a story after Faye now? Do we know what questions? Do you have the questions asked, Faye?
Alrighty, Faye. Faye is at the Republican Party right now. Faye, could you just tell us how's it going right now?
Thank you to Faye for that call and for getting those quotes. We will now be going into a story by Isaac Trotter about people leaving Illinois and their decisions to leave the state with these upcoming elections. Did I say Isaac or did I say Isaac Trotter?
I heard Isaac Trotter.
What's up?
I'll check. Yeah. Okay. Can you reach over and unmute that other audio channel? Because they're not hearing anything except the two of you talking. They're not hearing any of the stories.
Lakes and fun things to do outside. And they also don't have sales tax, which is very nice, especially because they have the Mall of America.
And Connect doesn't plan to stay in Illinois forever.
I think the only thing that holds me back to Illinois is that my family is there. I don't even, I like Minnesota too, it's obvious, I think it's a better state, but, the Midwest is not really where I want to end up. So I like Minnesota better than Illinois, but my family is what is holding me back to Illinois. But I would say the Midwest is not my top choice of places to be.
While politicians blame each other and point to rising taxes as a reason for the outmigration, University of Illinois geography professor Ezekiel Calipeni believes that the exodus out of Illinois is not unique to the state.
What I know is the north-south migration in the United States as a whole. Places like New England, the Midwest, losing people to places like the South, Atlanta, Houston, California. So some parts of America are gaining people, and then you have other parts of America losing people because Rust Belt versus Sun Belt.
For UI7 News, I'm Isaac Trotter.
So we have reporter Taylor on the line right now, on the scene right now. So Taylor, could you just tell us about the impact that this has on the civilians right now in the area? Could you just tell us about the impact on civilians that this has had?
Could you repeat that question, please? There's a connection.
Could you just tell me about the impact that this has had on civilians?
Well, I think the impact on civilians, especially the millennials these days, is having a Democratic governor in office will make it easier for legislation to be passed in Illinois by having Rauner in office constantly fighting with Democrats because neither side can see the others. Nothing was getting passed, and it was affecting the people of Illinois. Now, having a Democrat in office, I think a lot more legislation can be passed to better the people.
You mentioned mostly the Democratic vote. Would you say that millennials are mostly Democratic, or in that sense?
Well, I don't want to speak on behalf of all millennials. I have friends who are Republican, but a majority of my friends are Democratic, and that is because I feel like our minds are opening up more and accepting more these days, and I think that's what the Democratic brand stands for.
Okay. Well, parties aside, how important do you think it was for millennials to vote?
Extremely important. We are the future. This is our country. We have a big, and in order for a real change to take place, we have to get out and vote. And I'm so proud of seeing so many people waiting in line just to vote, regardless of what party they voted for. Just expressing your right to vote as an American is so important.
That was perfect. Thank you very much, Taylor. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So we'll be moving into a story with our reporter, Isaac. For now, I just want to talk to you a little bit about updates with the Pritzker and Rauner campaign. Well, the latest numbers that we have is that Rauner used about $171.5 million in his campaign funds over the course of the 2 years. And collectively, a report from last month was that, oh, sorry folks, that it looks like we are running close on time, or we're going to be going to a break. Thank you very much.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right? Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that. Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And we are back. Thank you for holding with us through that break. We now go to Isaac Trotter. He is with a Republican Party. And Isaac, what is going on there? What is the feeling there?
There's some, and the easiest way to say things. The Republicans are extremely angry that J.B. Pritzker is going to be the next governor of Illinois. They think that this is a bad thing for the state of Illinois. They think the taxes are going to go through the roof. And I talked to a couple people here, and they just don't understand why the state of Illinois would vote for someone who wants to raise taxes so much. And they talk about how many people have left the state of Illinois, over 300,000 in the last 2 decades, and they think that number is going to go higher because of JB being in office.
Were there any?
So, I mean, there's just a sense of disappointment that Rauner doesn't get another chance, but they also understand that Rauner didn't do a very good job, and Pritzker really capitalized and used really good PR and really good speaker, and that kind of connected with the people of Illinois.
Were there any specific reactions to people when they heard specifically that Bruce Rauner conceded?
Yeah, I mean, the easy reaction that they had was, well, the polls were right, because that's kind of what had been hinted at for a little bit of a while. And at the end of the day, though, they feel like some of these other races are really, really big. They're looking at Erica Harold right now and see if she can win that thing. They also are looking at the Betsy Londrigan issue right now with Rodney Davis, and if Rodney Davis can win that spot right now, and that's a big one. They need Rodney Davis to win that, because if Pritzker has control, along with Mike Madigan, who's kind of run the state of Illinois and been in there for a very long time, they think that the Democratic idea of raising taxes is going to really be a problem for the state of Illinois. And again, I talked to a couple people who they said that if the Democrats have full control of the state of Illinois, they're going to move out of Illinois just because the taxes are going to be too high.
Thank you very much, Isaac.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
In the 13th district, moving on from that governor's story, The 13th District Congressional race in Illinois, gun control is an issue for many people, whether it be stricter gun legislation or reducing current restrictions. UI7's Delia Bradley reported on the potential restrictions on firearms depending on who wins the race.
Have you guys? No, you're on.
Across Illinois, voters are calling for action on gun control. They want to prevent their friends and family from being victims of gun violence. Ellie Hanauer is one of those fighting for tougher gun laws.
The thought of my children having to go through lockdown drills on a daily basis or on a regular basis, and just not wanting to have to send my children off to school with the fear of being shot.
Hanauer volunteers with the Illinois chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. This grassroots organization was founded after the 2012 shooting of Sandy Hook Elementary School. They fight for what they refer to as common sense gun laws and support candidates who pledge to do more to protect individuals from gun violence.
Moms Demand Action as an organization is pro-Second Amendment, so we have gun owners, we're bipartisan, Republicans, Democrats in our organization. What we're most concerned with is getting laws passed that keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them.
The bipartisan organization organizes phone banks and raises money for candidates they support, such as Betsy Dirksen-Londrigan. Dirksen-Londrigan believes gun violence is a national epidemic, which should be handled as a public health concern.
Gun owners and non-gun owners alike have children and grandchildren in school. Gun violence is all of our concerns.
Dirksen-Londrigan's opponent is incumbent Rodney Davis. He has voted with the National Rifle Association on gun control issues and supported Governor Bruce Rauner's veto of regulations for gun dealers. He is also a member of the NRA.
Criminals don't care if they fill out the correct form for a FOID card. They don't care if they legally purchase a firearm. And we need to make sure that every American has a right to protect themselves.
Although Dirksen-Londrigan supports the Second Amendment, she stands against the NRA.
And I have said time and again, I will take not one dime from the NRA because I don't want their money. And Congressman Davis has taken a lot of money from the NRA. And I think that that's reflected in his votes.
The business manager at High Caliber Training Center, James Seikel, says focusing on regulation at the national level is not a concern among gun owners.
On the federal level, I don't think the race is going to affect gun legislation at all.
Voters in the 13th District could help shift the power in Congress, but even if Democrats take control, it isn't clear whether the gun laws would be changed. For UI7 News, I'm Delia Bradley.
Thank you to Delia for that story. Moving on to some of the other races in the state of Illinois, we focus on Attorney General race. That features University of Illinois alum Erica Harold as a Republican candidate for Attorney General. And the role of the Attorney General, for those of you who are not aware, is to be the state's chief legal officer, and they are responsible for protecting the public interest of the state and its people. Her opponent, the Democratic candidate Kwame Raoul, is neck and neck with Harold thus far, as well as with Bubba Harsey, the Libertarian candidate, who holds strong rule views in the third. And in a year where the Democrats are trying to take over Congress,
Betsy Dirksen-Londrigan,
that's on me,
the Democratic nominee, and Rodney Davis, the Republican, are running quite close as well. Londrigan, like many of the Democrats across the state, has made her main stances around affordable health care and coverage of pre-existing medical conditions, while Davis focused heavily on reducing taxes. Cynthia Cunningham is the Democratic representative in the General Assembly for the 104th Representative District spot. She has a degree in recreation therapy from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Her main stances include lowering taxes, adding quality jobs, and building a stronger economy, as well as protecting seniors and improving health care affordability, investing in public education, and expanding vocational programs, ending politics as usual. Mike Marin is the Republican representative in General Assembly's. Marin's focus is on transparency in government spending, as well as a focus on the Agricultural Center.
Also involved in some of these races, the county executive. It's a new position for Champaign County. Current county clerk Gordy Holton is running as the Republican candidate, and Darlene Kluppel is the Democratic candidate. Kluppel wants to focus on regional economic development, while Holton is leaning more toward county-based funding. Final race that will be covered tonight is county clerk. Their time to shine comes around voting time, around now. The candidates are Aaron Ammons and Matt Grandone. Ammons has created his platform on increasing student voter turnout, while Grandone has worked under current clerk Gordy Holton. Now we come in with some results. Important for everyone to know that it's only about 20% of the votes are in right now, but thus far, the votes that were counted, obviously we updated you on the governor's race and the concession of Bruce Rauner, but after 21% had voted, Pritzker had almost 60% of the vote with 26,000 to Rauner having just 33% and about 14,000. On to Attorney General with Kwame Raoul and Erica Harold. Raoul is leading the vote with 56.1% of that vote. He's got about 24,000. Erica Harold is at 41%, almost 42% with 18,000. And Bubba Harsey is way behind both of them. He's only got 1.9%, 845 votes for Attorney General. Moving on, Secretary of State Jesse White, so far with 21% of the vote and is running away with it. He's got 72% of those votes. He's got about 31,000, while Jason Helland has about 10,000, 24% of that, and Steve Duttner, the Libertarian candidate, has only 1,000, only 2% of all the votes that have been in so far. Comptroller, again, just still reminder that these are only 21% of the votes, but Susana Mendoza, she is the Democratic candidate for Comptroller. She has 64%. She has about 27,000 votes. With Darlene Singer, who is the Republican vote, she has 14,000 of those votes.
Moving on with East Coast polls closing out. Results coming in, potential 2020 presidential candidates Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren won their Senate races in Vermont and Massachusetts, respectively. Based on the early results, voters feel very strongly about health care and immigration issues in this election. And now we'll be turning over to our reporter Faye's story, which is on international first-time voters.
Is a journalism student from U of I. He grew up in Shanghai and received U.S. citizenship at the age of 10. The upcoming election is going to be his first-time vote.
It is my first time really to have this obligation of being a U.S. citizen, so I should definitely take advantage of this opportunity and to really see how my vote can make a difference.
Tai said immigration policy is one of his major concerns in making voting decisions. Tai believed that the Republican Party may lose some immigrant votes in the election in regards to Donald Trump's administration to prosecute all illegal entrants.
I think the current immigration policy is somewhat strict to what it has been for the past few decades in the U.S. because the United States is a country built upon immigrants. And the current immigration act or the current immigration policies, I believe, are very strict because it tears apart families. It leaves young children without their parent living alone in the U.S. and it also makes the U.S. lose a lot of their important resources, a lot of important human resources.
Since Trump is in the House, Republicans has gained more seats than Democrats. Tai said he will vote for more Democrats.
Definitely right now in the U.S., the Republicans are more dominant because obviously the president, Mr. Trump, is Republican, and as well as, for example, the 5 out of the 9 justices in the Supreme Court are also Republican, which means when it comes to Supreme Court decisions in making new laws or making new rules, it's going to lean towards the Republicans.
For the 13th district congressional seat, the race has grown increasingly heated between Betsy Londrigan and Rodney Davis. Tai said he will vote for Londrigan, who he believed has represented his thoughts on immigration policy.
Betsy is sort of neutral in her stance, where she thinks that there's a better alternative in coming up with a better plan as to what the government should do with the immigrants.
Another U of I student, Brian Wan, is a second-generation immigrant born in Seattle. Wan said he will vote because he hopes immigrants can have a greater voice at the county-level election.
Because it's more local, where we live in, and the elections, whoever gets elected can determine our day-to-day lives more closely than compared to a state level.
UI7 News reporter Kai-Ching Wei contributed to this report.
And some breaking news that we have for you. In the Illinois Attorney General race, Republican candidate and university alumnus Erica Harold has conceded to Democrat Kwame Raoul. The two were locked in a very tight race until Harold's decision to concede. Reporter Isaac Trotter is on the scene. Isaac, can you tell us what is going on there right now?
Well, disappointment, and after Bruce Rauner drops out and Harold now drop out, it's a bad look for the Republicans right now. They're not feeling so great, and they're kind of all their hopes now go on, Rodney Davis, and that's a big race for them, and they really need Rodney to win, and it's an uphill battle. And, I ask people here what's their reaction. Where do you go from here now? Erica Harold was lost, and their response was, well, we're going to Indiana. And again, when they believe that if the Democrats take over and the Democrats are in control, they're going to have to lead the state of Illinois. And that's what people are saying. And, I kind of followed up with a couple people on that. And they're like, well, it's just hard to pack up my whole farm and kind of go to Indiana. But, it feels like he might have to sell and, get out of the state. And Erica was a big loss. They thought that she did a really good job in this entire, race. They thought she campaigned in the right places. She thought she talked to the right people. They thought that she was the most qualified person easily, and they thought that she really connected with the people of the state of Illinois better, but the voters disagreed.
Isaac, now they've had two huge races and they've had their candidate drop out. Have you asked any of them what went into those decisions? Why did they feel that they had to concede so early?
Yeah, they don't know why, and part of it is the fact that a few counties that they thought were going to be more pro-Republican have automatically dropped out, and as those numbers continue to grow, and they have more Democratic counties, like the ones up in Chicago, that are still yet to be counted, that can lead to bad things, which is why they're dropping out. And they're also down by a significant amount of votes, so they wouldn't be able to come back. And, there's a lot of disappointment here. They had high expectations, the Republicans did, for this night. Erica Harold was one that they really thought was going to be the next star, the rising star, had a chance to maybe be a governor in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. And for her to drop out, it's a blow to them and going to this group.
All right, Isaac, thank you for that. We will now begin a story from Nathan DeHaan, but first we'll be taking a short break. So when we come back...
Oh, no more break.
Break? Yep, okay. We'll just be going, I guess. So we have a story from Nathan DeHaan. We got an executive order not to go to break. So Nathan will be coming in to give you a quick story from him on what has happened here early in the voting with Erica Harold and Bruce Rauner dropping out. Or are we going to break?
Go to break, go to break.
All right, we're going to break.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzz driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right? Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I want to change some things. I want to help more kids graduate from high school.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life. Education, income, and health.
I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalk.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
So I'm here with reporter Eric, who has an update on the Lodrigan and Davis case. Eric, what can you tell us now?
Well, so far, 20% of the vote has been reported, and we have Davis trailing Londrigan 60% to 39%. But it's important to note that most of that vote is coming from Champaign County. We do not yet have results from the other counties in the district. So there is about 80% left of the district to report. So it looks like we're going to have a long night ahead of us.
That sounds about right. Just for a little bit of recap for those of the people who don't know, I'm just going to go through some of the stances that Londrigan has had compared to Davis. Some of the main stances that Londrigan have had is mainly healthcare, taking steps towards universal healthcare coverage by stabling the ACA and protecting essential health benefits, supporting a public option that can compete with private insurers, and in terms of jobs, she wants to create a real tax reform for the middle class and small businesses that will grow locally and into the economy. In terms of women and families, she wants to have champion legislation for equal pay for women and for all people, as well as prioritize safety on college campuses. In terms of education, she wants to make public colleges and universities more affordable and allow with crushing student loan debt to refinance. In terms of rural Illinois and local problems, she wants to increase investments in modern, efficient waterways to help more products to market, as well as protect crop insurance to keep our farmers growing. In terms of tax reform, she wants to retain deductions and credits for medical expenses, teachers, graduate students, and student loans, and other individual breaks needed to help families. Now I'm going to switch over to some information on Rodney Davis, the Republican nominee or candidate for the Congressional 13th District. In terms of one key aspect is that in terms of abortion, he is pro-life, as well as opposes public abortion funding, and also opposes churches providing birth control. In terms of the budget and economy, he opposes any future increase in the debt ceiling. Also voted yes on prioritizing spending in case debt limit is reached. In terms of civil rights, Davis does not believe in affirmative action and voted yes on reauthoring the Violence Against Women Act. In terms of crime, he wants to expand the death penalty and limit appeals, as well as increase mandatory life sentences for third-time felons. For drugs, he wants to strengthen drug penalties associated with drug-related crimes. For the environment, he sponsored no permits for legal pesticide runoff into lakes and streams, and wants to limit the EPA oversight to allow mining over fishing. In terms of health care, he wants to repeal and replace what he finds as the flawed Obamacare. He supports repealing it, and as well as a market-based health insurance. He supports repealing the Affordable Care Act, as well as religious exemptions from Obamacare individual mandates. For gun control, he wants unabashed supporter for our Second Amendment rights, as well as opposing restricting the Second Amendment. In terms of corporations, Davis voted yes on workforce training by state block and grants and industry partners, as well as supporting tax incentives for job creations. When you look on both sides of Londrigan and Davis, they're pretty similar in terms of jobs and the economy, but also in terms of things like gun rights and Second Amendment, they're very on opposite ends. And now we have a story coming up for one of our reporters here at UI7.
So you read it off earlier, talking about Erica Harold dropping out of her race. We brought it up, a former U of I alum, actually here in Urbana, and I was just in the war room listening to her conceding speech and talking about how she wanted to thank everybody, of course, for their continued support. Really wanted to get across the point that she was going to continue, advocating for the things that she had been advocating for throughout her campaign. One of the big ones that she hit on throughout her speech here was the lack of partisanship in future voting, and talking about how, she was happy with the way that she ran her race. She was happy with how everything went. Obviously, losing the race by concede, but. I mean, at the end of the day, she wanted to get across the point that, she stands by everything that she was running with. She was happy with the way that things went. She was very thankful for all the support that she got. And it was a very gracious goodbye to what she labeled as a very hard-fought campaign.
All right, thank you very much. Next, coming up, we have Alex Kim on the phone, who has the Democratic reactions to the recent concedings. Alex, can you tell us what the reactions are like right now? What are the emotions rolling?
Hi, the atmosphere here is electric at the moment. People are excited about the new results now. Just in Mississippi Senate has won as well. And with the prior wins as well, with the loss of two other Republican candidates, people are excited, sharing drinks. There's a lot of music going on here. Yeah, generally people are talking about the future projections, and it looks very optimistic here.
I believe you mentioned this before, so this is that Canopy, is that correct?
Yes, this is in the middle of Canopy.
Cool, so I can probably assume that it's probably a huge party scene right now in terms of those two races.
Yep, there's a lot of people singing at the open stage, sharing their songs. Just generally about 100 to 200 people out on the stage watching the screen. And yeah, it's generally a very electric atmosphere. People are very excited.
Alex, do people have a lot of opinions on the Londrigan and Davis race going on right now?
A lot of people project that that Londrigan will win for sure. I'm not sure about the statistics in just now, but a lot of people are talking about a split between the two. And yes, again, people are maintaining an optimistic lookout on the race.
Well, thank you very much, Alex, for coming on there tonight.
Thank you. Alex Kim from Canopy Club.
All right, thank you to Alex again. Obviously, just a lot of different developments happening right now. Moving on, it's been a year since Illinois lawmakers overrode Illinois' Governor Bruce Rauner's veto on an income tax increase bill because Illinois still is struggling with their budget. So with a story on that, we have that coming up right now on the tax reform.
In the past decade, Illinois has struggled with creating consistent budgets and managing their taxes. J.B. Pritzker wants to raise taxes and put a higher tax on the rich, while candidate and current Governor Bruce Rauner wants to reduce the tax bracket. The Chicago Tribune reports that J.B. Pritzker wants to raise Illinois' flat income tax rate, boost credits and deductions, while lawmakers consider changing the state constitution to allow for a graduated income tax. University of Illinois student Keith Jones says because Pritzker isn't saying exactly how much he wants to increase taxes, he is uneasy.
I don't really see any concrete plans on where he wants to put that money toward. He says that he wants to put some of the money toward, say, school reform, especially when it comes to CPS. But other than that, there's not much that's going on. And he wants to keep people in. But again, I don't really see how, you raising taxes and trying to improve the school system is going to keep people in if they're already gone.
University of Illinois political science professor Brian Gaines keeps track of what is happening in Springfield. He says changing the way taxes are structured in Illinois requires amending the state's constitution.
The trickiest thing is it's in our state constitution, our 1970 constitution, that we have a flat tax. That doesn't mean everybody pays the same income tax. There are lots of exemptions and deductions, so you don't start paying until you hit a certain threshold. But as you move from middle class to wealthy, you're still paying the same percentage in state income taxes.
Pritzker's opponent, Governor Bruce Rauner, says that he wants to reduce taxes. But Champaign voter David Mizell isn't sure the governor could get the legislator to approve.
I think if Bruce Rauner is reelected, I could see us returning to gridlock. Because I know it was very difficult to get the state legislature and the governor on the same page. And for a number of years, Illinois and the university even suffered by not having a set budget and things like that.
Whoever is elected governor November 6th will be expected to follow through with his promise. Danielle Williams, UI7 News.
So just for a quick recap before we go to our break, we already know that Bruce Rauner has conceded to become a Republican candidate, J.B. Pritzker, and Erica Harold has conceded to Cuomo Raoul, who is a Democratic candidate for Attorney General. With me next, I have Brian Binns, who has an update before our break.
Yeah, so as you said, and former Governor Rauner, he conceded earlier in the hour, and just after he conceded, he took a podium in Chicago at his watch party, gave his concession speech, pretty standard stuff. You know, he said he calls for the people of Illinois to work together, unite, put aside partisan politics. He also said that he called Pritzker tonight. He said that he hopes and prays that Pritzker serves Illinois well, and that he looks forward to assisting in a full effort for a smooth transition. So at least he's not too salty about the loss. Pritzker has not taken the podium at his watch party, but Comptroller Susan Mendoza did to kind of take a victory lap for both of them. She said, "We're trading a K-heart with no heart for a kind leader with a strong heart." So pretty strong words from the winning party tonight.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So just before our break, I thought I'd recap a little bit of Pritzker's stances since he has won this election. Some of his main stances are plans to protect seniors as well as people with mental health issues. He has priorities for protecting immigrant families. He wants to stand against Donald Trump's attacks on Dreamers and fight for permanent legislation solutions for DACA recipients. He wants priorities for protecting the environment, put Illinois on a path for 100% clean renewable energy, and attract commercial investment in clean energy production and transmission here in Illinois. He's talked a lot about legalizing marijuana for recreational use and decriminalizing it, and to put a framework in place to license businesses to sell it to consumers for recreational use. One more stance is his public health approach to gun violence, to empower the Illinois Department of Public Health to expand their treatment of gun violence as a public health epidemic. As well as another stance that he has is his commitment to LGBTQ rights, addressing the rights of anti-LGBTQ hate crimes, as well as particular against the transgender community. Well, it is about that time. We are going to head to break, and pretty soon we'll be back in a little bit with the rest of our live coverage of election night here at UI7 News. Please stay tuned for more election coverage. Thank you.
Andrea Flores.
And I'm Aaron Navarro. Numbers are coming in across the country and right here in Champaign-Urbana on this election night 2018. UI7 News has your coverage tonight. In fact, Champaign's unofficial votes coming in is about 38%, so about 46 of the counties are coming in.
The race for governor has been called. J.B. Pritzker is the new governor of Illinois. Bruce Rauner conceded around 8 o'clock today. Pritzker will move to Springfield and become the 43rd governor of the state of Illinois. He will also be the first Democratic governor since Pat Quinn in 2015. Champaign County is reporting this, and we have just about 124,000 votes for J.B. Pritzker.
Local Democrats are speaking out about Pritzker's win tonight. Here's Eddie Ippenson at the scene. Just a sec.
He was in office, vetoed a lot of very common sense gun legislation that would have saved a lot of lives in Illinois, and I look forward to seeing Governor Pritzker do great things to keep our communities and our whole state safer from gun violence.
I would just like to correct myself. We have about 124,000 votes total for Champaign County. There are over 33,000 votes for J.B. Pritzker.
A little bit more about J.B. Pritzker. Some of his stances include protecting seniors, access to affordable health care, protecting immigrant families, and protecting the environment and Illinois on the path towards clean, renewable energy and attracting commercial investment in clean energy. Here's Addie with some more breakdown.
Well, the 13th district seat in Illinois is up for grabs, as we've talked about, and it's
currently too close to call between Republican Rodney Davis and Democrat Betsy Dirksen Londrigan, but Londrigan does have a significant lead with around 40%. And at the moment, Londrigan is maintaining a healthy lead over Rodney Davis and is trying to defeat the incumbent in a busy night tonight in Illinois. As we have talked about throughout the evening, that this race is going to be very important throughout not only Illinois but the country as a whole. I think the current numbers right now are actually Londrigan's up at 70% currently. So this is obviously going to be a very important race. This would have been Davis's 4th term in Congress. He's currently serving his 3rd. So it's definitely going to be an upset if she ends up pulling it off, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, right now, as of about 10 minutes ago, we've got 31,000 votes for Betsy Dirksen Londrigan compared to Rodney Davis's 13,000. So we'll just see how this continues.
And that's 48 out of the 83 precincts, so there's still some more to come. And moving from the congressional race to the Attorney General, Erica Harold has conceded, and Kwame Raoul will be the next Attorney General to replace Harold. Raoul is currently leading Harold with 46 precincts, and it's showing that he is the winner. I'm here with Roger Blanco to talk a little bit about the effects of this. Roger, can you kind of break it down for me?
Just overall in general, I feel like we've just been talking about Democrats just winning all these races so far. And as you can tell, they have a lead in the control of the House so far. So if this is a trend that's going to be leaning towards, we can expect the Democrats to take over full control of the House.
Republican candidate Darlene Sanger conceded to Democratic incumbent Susana Mendoza around 8:30 p.m. tonight. Even after this win, there are reports that she might be in the running for another race in Chicago this spring. Might be that mayor race, but you know, there's still some time to call. A little too early. There's still some, Chance the Rapper still got some more people to endorse, but we'll see. We'll see about all that.
It's definitely interesting to note that Susana Mendoza is one of the only incumbents so far in Illinois to keep her seat. So we'll see if this will continue throughout the country with incumbents keeping their current positions.
Speaking of that, voters are left wondering tonight about the House of Representatives and who will take control. And it's still a little too close to call. The GOP has 95 confirmed seats compared to the 84 that the Democrats have. Democrats were hoping for a blue wave to take the House early, but that has not happened quite yet. They'll need to turn over 23 Republican-held seats and have already flipped one in Florida and one in Virginia. The New York Times and Fox News do say that Democrats have a 95% chance of getting the House. There are still some toss-up elections in Florida, Georgia, and New Jersey. 218 seats are required for control. The whole West Coast still has one more hour till their polls close. New York just wrapped up at 9 o'clock 5 minutes ago. But Andrea, the blue wave is not looking as strong over in the Senate, is it?
It's not. There is definitely variation in terms of the Senate. So some other races, while the House is seemingly leaning left, different Senate races may be pointing the opposite direction. The Senate race is getting numbers in with the Republicans holding a 6-seat lead at the moment, with more than half of the polls closed across the country. Republicans have gained 1 seat in the Senate, with Mike Braun being called the winner in Indiana. One race to follow is in Texas between Republican incumbent Ted Cruz and Democrat Beto O'Rourke, with just 40,000 votes between the two of them. As for some other races across the country, Democratic Senator Bob Menendez has won re-election in New Jersey, and in another highly conservative area, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin won re-election in West Virginia. So it's interesting to see that these senators are taking control of these seemingly conservative areas.
Definitely.
Republicans are also taking seats in the Senate, though. The first female senator in Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, has been elected. So it's just interesting to note how there's kind of a slower Democratic lead in terms of the Senate races right now.
Definitely compared to the House, which is, in a sense, having this little blue wave, while the Senate is definitely looking like it's going Republican and going red, which I feel like was kind of predicted, but it's kind of just interesting to see as it's going out. Also, the first female senator in Tennessee.
That was crazy to hear. I had no idea that was on the table, but it's 2018 and they just got their first female senator, which was interesting to note.
Definitely. Bringing it closer back to home, 55% in Champaign County is also in for the brand new position of the county executive. Darlene Kluppel currently leads Gordy Holton by 5,000 votes. We will continue to follow this race closely as the evening rolls along. Now, this is a new position. This has not happened. In fact, Will County is the only other county in Illinois that has a Champaign County executive position. So for Champaign to have one and to see where it goes is interesting. I remember, Roger, you were saying Gordy Holton was saying that the position is like being mayor of Champaign.
Yeah, it has a lot of responsibilities and just a big role that someone should take, especially since it's a brand new role. It's a big one. So
It'll be interesting to see how Champaign County reacts to having a county executive when we haven't had one before. So we'll see if the residents of this county respond to it well and if it does well.
Yeah. And moving from Champaign County Executive to County Clerk, votes counted for the Champaign State Representative District actually placed Democratic candidate Aaron Amons about 8,000 votes ahead of the Republican opponent, Matt Grandone, so far tonight. So far tonight. So that'll be interesting to see as far as that more local race. Obviously, a big talk looking at the federal level, but it's really important to remember that these state elections are just as important and just as kind of up in the air as it kind of feels like the whole election cycle has been this year, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if a Democrat takes the county clerk position, considering Gordy Holton has had this position and he is on the opposite side of the aisle. Right. So that'll be something to watch for tonight.
If you want more information about this election, you can go to champaigncountyclerk.com. They'll have all the numbers and keep pressing that F5. The numbers will keep refreshing so you can stay up to date. One thing I want to talk about, though, is with Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, and we were kind of talking about some of the positions here, is women on the ballot does seem to be increased. I believe in at least the governor's races was around 16 races have women, give or take. So it's kind of an interesting thing.
I've heard the term the year of the woman being thrown around in terms of these midterm elections, so it's definitely interesting and nice to see that there are more women on the ballot and more representation in our democracy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just at the end of the day, it's whoever's the most qualified just get the job done. It's awesome if that's also a female at the same time. So, kind of see how that plays out throughout the evening and all across the country, too.
For sure. Well, we invite you to stay with UI7 News tonight as we cover races around Illinois, here in Champaign County, and across the country.
Our team of reporters and anchors will bring you a final election roundup at 10 p.m. when all the polls are closed with more numbers.
That does it for us tonight. We will be back in 1 hour for this Decision 2018 UI7 News coverage. Thank you for joining us.
Make sure to stay tuned and keep tuned in Channel 7 for UI7 News Radio.
From Gregory Hall on the University of Illinois campus, this is UI7 Radio News.
Good evening, I am Will Bro. And I am Jake Hassan. Welcome back to UI7's live coverage of the election results from the campus of the University of Illinois.
We're in a studio in Gregory Hall, and we are here to bring you live coverage of election night from Richmond TV Studio.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at ILLElect or follow the hashtag ILLElect for live reporter updates.
So far tonight, we've been keeping up, listening up to date on the Governor, Attorney General, 13th Congressional District, 104th State Representative District, County Executive, and County Clerk races for Illinois. Quick recap, we have already seen Republican candidate Bruce Rauner concede to the Democratic Representative J.B. Pritzker. So J.B. Pritzker has taken the W for the governor's race.
Yeah, we've also got an update from the Attorney General race. Not too long ago, Erica Harold conceded. She's a Republican candidate for Attorney General. She conceded to Democratic candidate Kwame Raoul. She has officially conceded. Harold, the former Miss America and University of Illinois graduate, was running for office. Harold was defeated by incumbent Rodney Davis during the 2014 election for a downstate congressional seat. Native of Urbana, Harold paid her way through Harvard Law School by competing in and winning the 2003 Miss America contest. There was a wide range of platforms Harold wanted to improve, from opioids to harassment prevention. Former prosecutor for the Cook County State Attorney's Office, Kwame Raoul, is running as a Democratic candidate, and he is who Harold conceded to. Raoul was appointed to fill the vacant seat in the legislature left by former State Senator Barack Obama in 2004. His passion for equal rights, criminal justice reform, and women's rights are a few of the issues Raoul stands to change. As a survivor of prostate cancer, Raoul is committed to finding accessible and affordable health care for everyone. So again, Harold concedes Kwame Raoul in the Attorney General race.
Another quick update before we go to our reporter, Isaac. 50% of all votes in the Illinois state are in, and Democrats are in favor in all Illinois state races. We will now be heading over to our reporter, Isaac Trotter, who is on the scene with the Republican Party. Isaac, can you tell us what the feelings are at the moment?
Stunned silence.
Could you just tell us the overall
feeling? That's it. They're very somber. They're very quiet, kind of just relaxed right now. They're just watching and waiting and hoping for some good news, but they kind of understand that might not happen tonight. And that's kind of the atmosphere over here right now at the Republican Party. There's just a sense of a missed opportunity. They thought Erica Harold would be the future, maybe possibly a chance to be a really good governor for the state of Illinois. But now that, with all of this that is happening right now, it's kind of opening the door for the Democrats to take advantage, and that the Republican Party is very, very somber at the moment. And plenty of people have talked about how they want to leave the state of Illinois now because they feel like their taxes are going to go through the roof, and it'll make it just not affordable to live in the state of Illinois anymore.
Are there any hopes for the Davis race still at this point?
I mean, there's definitely some hope for it. Ted Cruz just won in Texas, so that's just got a rousing applause from the Republican group here. But, Davis is a very sizable thing he has to come back from against Mr. Londrigan. So they're hopeful that he can do it. There's some interesting, Macon County just had 25 to 26% of the precincts for that county. And Davis has a 2-to-1 advantage there so far, so I expect him to get a good win there. Expect him to make some ground there. But when you're down 19% right now, there's a significant amount of he needs to make up in a hurry.
Thank you very much, Eric. Or Isaac, I'm sorry. One quick update that we have breaking news right now. Down south, Ted Cruz won the re-election in Texas, defeating Democratic Representative Beto O'Rourke after a very heated race that happened down in Texas. Sitting next to me, I have UI7 reporter Eric, and he is coming to give us an update on the Londrigan-Davis race.
Yeah, quick update on District 13. With 47% of the vote in, Londrigan's lead has shrunk to 54 to 46%. That trend is continuing as more rural counties are starting to report in from the rest of the district, and it looks like this is going to be the nail-biter race that we were all expecting for so many months.
That's very interesting to hear. More breaking news. In North Dakota, Kevin Kramer won the Senate race, defeating Heidi Heinkamp. This is more breaking news that is coming to us as we are reporting live for election coverage from all states as well as Illinois in specifically. So as we run through the night, I think I will take you through some more information in terms of the issues that Davis and Londrigan are fighting for in this race. For starters, we can go back to Davis. In terms of his main stances, we talked about his policies on abortion and the budget and economy, and how he is mostly trying to expand the death penalty as well as limit appeals. Ooh, I am just getting waved. We will be going to break now for a minute or two. Please stay tuned for UI7 break. Thank you.
Confidence in kids.
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that. Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I want to change some things. I want the moms where I live to have childcare they can trust.
I want to make sure my little brother and his friends have a safe place to play.
I want to help more kids graduate from high school. Help more hardworking families learn how to budget and save.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
Want to make a difference? There are so many ways you can. Help create opportunities for everyone in your community.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. This is Will Bro at UI7 News and Greg Hall. We are now meeting with Delia at the Republican Party to get more updates on the Davis and Londrigan race. Delia, could you update us on the overall atmosphere and reactions that you are seeing right now?
Yeah, so when they were announcing the upcoming results, obviously the Davis-Londrigan race is hugely important in order to remain with the power in Congress, but specifically in the House. And it was silent. The room was dead silent. And as they announced that Londrigan is still up, they are still remaining hopeful, but there was definitely disappointment. Also, based on the reaction of the people, they're really not that concerned about how Davis is going to be doing. They're still remaining hopeful, like I said, and they're really excited to see what Davis is doing. They are mostly moral voters. They are big on gun control, and that was reiterated multiple times, and they are going to continue voting the way that they do, meaning that they're just always going to support Davis.
You mentioned something about moral voters. Did they ever explain more into what that meant to them at all, or not really?
So moral voters, they're voting mostly on civil rights. So things like gay marriage. I've talked to a few people who definitely have stances that might not necessarily be of the local popular opinion, but they stand behind Davis for his reasoning behind voting the way that he does. He supports Trump over 95% of the time, and they really believe that he is for their issues. He doesn't just vote based on what everyone else is doing. He stands his ground on what he believes in.
All right, thank you very much for that update. A little bit more breaking news. We have Ron DeSantis beating Andrew Gillum in the next race. He beat the Republicans came out winning that race 50% to 49%. And we'll continue to bring more updates to you throughout the night with more election coverage.
We actually do have an update for the race for county clerk, for Champaign County Clerk. Right now from the News Gazette, Democrat Aaron Ammons is currently ahead in that race with over 31,000 votes. Ammons leads over the Republican candidate Matt Grandone, who has less than 27,000 votes thus far. Of the 118 precincts in the county, 65 have reported back. That is 55% of the total votes that have yet to be determined. The News-Gazette reported that Ammon seeks to demonstrate a code of ethics that voters can trust by making changes to the current administration. Grandone aims to use budgetary finances, such as grants in the department, to transition a part-time contractual programmer to a full-time internal staff member and adapt more quickly to changing Illinois election code. That is reported from the News-Gazette. Once again, Democrat Aaron Ammons leading the race for Champaign County Clerk.
Well, while we wait for a few more updates to come in, I was thought I'd talk about a little bit about margins of error. So
Small.
Looking for margins of error, it tells you how in your audience much the results can vary. Remember that the larger the margin of error, the greater the likelihood the survey estimate will be inaccurate. Making sure a political candidate really has the lead before you report it is very important. One thing that you should know is that there are real trends and that there are mistaken claims of trend. Another thing to keep in mind is that the margin of error of subgroups of a sample will always be larger than the margin of error for a sample. It's also good to use caution when comparing results from different polls and surveys, especially those conducted by different organizations.
So some people would say that you should be careful when determining who's going to lead your state and country government.
Right.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to confirm that. And we're still waiting to get some more information from here, but just to recap really quickly, 20 minutes in here, if you're just joining us, J.B. Pritzker has won the race for governor. Bruce Rauner conceded just about an hour ago. Also, Erica Hammond has conceded in the race for attorney general too. So the Democratic Party has taken probably the two top positions in these races, winning the governor race and the attorney general race. So it's really shaping up to be their night. We talked to Isaac Trotter earlier. He said that the Republican parties are just stunned. They don't really know what to do, and just they're hoping for the best at this point.
Sounds good. So we have UI7's reporter Taylor on the spot at the Democratic Party. Taylor, could you please tell us the Democratic reactions? Oops, sorry, we're getting a little volume mix-up here. Taylor, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Just go over some updates and reactions from the Democratic response right now.
Right now, everyone is very positive and everyone is very excited. There's a lot of music going on, a lot of dancing. Everyone is very hopeful for the next election.
How do they feel about the Londrigan-Davis race right now?
They're extremely excited, just considering that it's been almost 100 years since the 13th congressional race. So they're very excited about that.
I mean, what was the reaction once Rauner conceded to Pritzker, and also when Harold conceded too? I mean, what was the initial reaction? I mean, could they believe it? I mean, or was this something they were expecting?
People were very joyous and they were very hopeful about the 2020 election, especially millennials. We spoke with the president of the Illini Democrats, and she was very excited and very hopeful of what is to come in the future. But they realize that there's a lot still left to do. She considered it a trial, and she believes that this election will help them in the next election.
So, when we talked to our reporter at the Republican Party right now, they said that there's still a lot of confidence in the Davis-Londrigan race on the Republican side. Is there any fear of Londrigan not making it through this race?
Can you repeat that question?
Do you see any fear of Londrigan not making it through her race at the Democratic Party? Because the Republicans at the Republican Party are still very confident that Davis may still come through.
No, not at all. The Democratic Party is extremely confident that she will pull through and win this race.
All righty, Taylor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to Taylor for that update. Obviously, as she said, the Democrats feeling very comfortable right now, feeling very confident. I mean, even when we asked her just now, she said even with one race left, and even the Republicans feeling that they can still get a seat of power here with Rodney Davis, that they're still very confident. I mean, obviously that happens when you win the Attorney General and Governor race.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Well, moving on to voter turnout. Historically, University of Illinois student voters do not turn out to vote. In the midterm election in 2014, the lowest percentage of ballots reported was 12.8% at the University YMCA. Some off-campus polling places reported over 60% for more of the residential Champaign-Urbana areas. Polling places on campus have included the Illini Union, the Halil Center, the Student Dining and Residential Programs Building, as well as the University YMCA and Art Center.
Yeah, and on campus, the Union was the most popular polling place. In 2014, almost 20% of the people registered to vote at the Union showed up and voted there. This year, the Illini Union also hosted early voting, which started on October 25th. And across the state, there's also same-day voter registration. That means voters could register to vote at a polling place and then proceed to vote right there. This is part of a statewide movement to get the vote out. And here are a few people expressing why they wanted to vote.
Because I believe in the democratic process and because I believe that the people's voice needs to be heard.
I'm not very happy with the current administration and getting some more checks and balances on it, so it's not just a one-party system of government up there.
I saw a lot of the coverage against birthright citizenship recently. I am a citizen of this country, and even though I spent 21 years in India, I'm not a citizen of India.
Just to make a difference, to make it feel like we have an ability to kind of shape our future in a way. So I think voting is a crucial part of taking hold of that.
I'm really hoping that this will make a change as far as getting the country on the right track, and it's important to vote each time, but I think it's more important to even do it at this midterm election because of recent issues in the government.
Well, I'm trying to legalize weed.
I just know it's my duty as a U.S. citizen to vote. That's what they say, right?
My mom told me to go vote, so.
I think that voting is a civic duty and a responsibility of all Americans.
And thank you for that story. We currently have Isaac Trotter back on the phone to also talk about voter turnout. Isaac, are you there? Isaac is about to come in soon. So Isaac.
Sorry, folks, we're trying to get Isaac on the line right now.
Working on it. Isaac, hello.
Yes.
Okay, so you are here. We just talked about voter turnout for a second, so we are understanding that you have more information to provide on that subject.
Yeah, so there's a lot more numbers, there's things to figure out the number of people that actually voted, and it's a significant number higher. Now, they don't have an exact number figured out yet. They're doing the math right now. There's been significant numbers higher, and Muhammad is a small town that's about 15 minutes in Champaign County, and that's the town that still hasn't got the numbers in, but the Democrats have done a record what it was beforehand, and that's like that in multiple states right now. The Democrats came out to vote in a hurry for these type of elections. Republicans will retain the control in the Senate, which is a big deal to them, and they're happy about that. Ted Cruz is a big win that kind of helps steal that state for the Republicans. But again, it looks like a record number of turnout for the Democrats in this election.
So is that something that they just weren't counting on over there at the Republican Party? I mean, or is it something more that Republicans just didn't come out as much and as strongly as they anticipated?
No, it's the Democrats came out just a lot more than what they expected, and the Republicans kind of came out exactly what they expected, not necessarily any numbers that were too shocking, kind of about the same that they projected. But the Democrats increase was significantly higher, and that looks like it's going to be the difference of the race. And that's why a lot of people over here are pretty stunned and really surprised with some of the the results that have happened so far. In results to Erica Harrell losing and for also Governor Rauner being ousted so quickly and so easily.
There's still a lot of hopes out for the Davis race right now?
No, not much over here. They think that the Davis race is getting closer and closer to being called Londrigan and elite. They're very not happy about that right now. Obviously, the numbers have to start and that thing get changed in a hurry, but as of right now, their expectations are that Londrigan will win.
All right, Isaac, thank you for that report. Thank you for having your ear to the ground with that. We will be taking a break here, but when we come back from break, Brian Benz will be in to talk about voter turnout a little bit more with you guys right after a break.
See you soon. Stay tuned.
Change some things. I want to help more kids graduate from high school.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back from our break. This is Will Bro here with Brian Binns, UI7 reporter, and Brian has an update for us on the governor's race as well as another discussion.
Yeah, so Rauner already took the podium for his concession speech, but JB Pritzker just a little while ago took to his podium for his victory speech around 9:18 after an introduction from Lieutenant Governor-elect Julius Stratton. Pritzker congratulated all his supporters for, as he said, making history, and thanked all of his campaign workers to start, and then he thanked Rauner on his years of service and wished him and his family well. He's still on the podium right now, but just at the beginning of his speech, he just kind of talked about like all the kind of base of his voters that kind of helped him out, the young people, the women of color, the young people of color, and he said that they've kind of seen the rust of old ideas and they've decided to kind of move on to the new things. So just kind of that continued message for Pritzker about moving on from the old and getting with the new.
It's great to hear.
And then after, with the new election of Governor-elect Pritzker, many large Illinois organizations are putting out their statements on the recent events. Planned Parenthood Illinois congratulated Pritzker and said they are looking forward to working with him. They said that Pritzker will protect Illinois as an oasis for reproductive health care for Illinoisans, as well as people in the surrounding states in the Midwest. SEIU Healthcare Illinois, which is part of a larger Midwest healthcare union. President Greg Kelly said that Pritzker is bringing a close to 4 years of attacks on working families under Rauner, and called for Pritzker to deliver on the message he got elected on. The Illinois Farm Bureau and the Illinois Policy Institute have also voiced support for the new governor-elect. So far, positive reaction to the new governor-elect.
Thank you for that update, Brian. We have some more breaking news in terms of the new county executive position for Champaign. Darlene Kleppel is ahead in the race for county executive of Champaign County. With 65 out of 118 precincts counted, Democratic candidate Kleppel is currently leading with 53.96% of the vote against her opponent, Gordy Holton. Kleppel was the first to enter the race when the proposal for county executive was passed after an organized referendum in 2016. The first time this politician decided to run against Gordy Holton, who had previously worked as Champaign's county clerk. Kleppel plans on using her experience working as the community services director for the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission to formulate long-term plans for improvement of the country. As a lot of you may not know as well, the county executive position is a new Champaign government position that is being newly in place this year. So this executive typically functions either as a voting member of the elected county government or may have veto powers similar to other elected executives, such as a governor, president, or mayor. The position of an appointed county executive is similar to that of the city manager. The executive is generally given full responsibility for total operation of all the departments based on general directives provided by the elected county government that hired the executive. So it'll be very interesting to see where this race goes to in the next few weeks as well.
Yeah, and county executive is a local position, and for more on the local voting, the local turnouts, we go to Chris, who has some insight into that. He's on the phone right now.
Chris, are you on the line right now?
Hello?
Hey, Chris, can you just tell us what's happening right now?
Yeah, well, thank you. We're live from Brookins Center, sitting in the conference room, getting the updates as they come in. And we've tried to get a hold of incumbent county clerk Gordy Holton, and as of right now, all the county clerk employees have secluded themselves in a room. They said that they're too busy for any sort of media availability. So that's the latest on kind of what's going on at the county clerk's office. But otherwise, it's been pretty tame here at Brookings Gymnasium. We're slowly but surely getting the printed results. If anything changes, we'll be sure to let you know.
All right, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
And just as an update in the 13th district, in that congressional district race, Republican and three-term incumbent Senator Rodney Davis is fighting to keep his office, while the Democratic challenger Betsy Londrigan runs against him. GOP Representative Rodney Davis from Taylorville is the current congressman for the 13th District of Illinois. The 13th District includes part of the southwestern and southern Illinois, such as Edwardsville, Springfield, Bloomington, and Champaign. According to the Associated Press, Senator Davis credits the GOP tax bill for low underemployment and the strong economy, and says he's worked with the Trump administration to help the district. However, Democratic nominee Betsy Londrigan is focusing on health care coverage of pre-existing conditions, which is the center of her campaign. The AP is also reporting that Londrigan is a strong advocate for universal health care due to her son's history with a life-threatening illness and how this illness had the potential to bankrupt her family if they did not have the insurance. And according to an article from WGLT.org, Davis and Londrigan are facing off in one of the tightest races in the entire country. This race has gathered national attention as well as millions in out-of-state money due to Londrigan being a key player for the Democratic Party and taking over the House of Representatives. In the fourth and final debate between Davis and Londrigan last Monday, Londrigan criticized Davis's tax bill. In a quote from WGLT.org, Londrigan is quoted as saying, "That $2 trillion tax scam was a corporate giveaway. We all know that," she said. It went to the wealthiest among us. 83% of the benefits went to the wealthiest, corporations, and special interests. It was not a middle-class tax cut. Davis responded by accusing Londrigan of accepting out-of-state campaign contributions from Democrats looking to push President Donald Trump out of the White House. So that is one of the tightest races, and it'll be definitely something to keep an eye on there for the 13th District chair.
While we wait for some more updates, I'm going to talk to you about some of the money that was spent in the previous governor's race, which has broken some huge records for Illinois in general in terms of campaign spending. In terms of the governor's race, more than $284 million has been raised for the Illinois governor's race, more than the nearly $280 million spent in the record-setting 2010 California gubernatorial race, in which Republican former Representative Hewlett-Packard CEO Meg Whitman largely self-funded a losing campaign against Democrat Jerry Brown. The winner of the election gets the opportunity to lead a state that's been bleeding or drowning in debt. Pritzker has raised around $175.6 million, nearly all from his own pocket, and spent more than $120 million by September 30th alone, according to Illinois Election Commission records. The winner of Browner, a former private equity investor with a net worth he once estimated at about $500 million, has collected more than $79 million for the re-election bid. Another $29.3 million has been raised by primary challengers and the Conservative Party and Libertarian Party nominees and independent groups.
We now have an update coming through. We are going to get Alex on the phone from Canopy for a reaction from the Democrats. And Alex, can you just tell us what's going on there? How's everyone feeling there?
We're sorry, Alex. It's hard to hear you. Do you mind going somewhere a little bit quieter? It's a little hard to hear.
I mean, even from this, we can tell pretty much. We can tell it must be a pretty wild stuff for the Democrats there at Canopy.
Alex, are you still there?
He's trying, folks. Give him that. Alex, can you hear us?
Sorry, folks. We'll give him just a few more minutes.
And maybe not minutes, probably seconds.
2 more seconds.
All right.
Sorry, folks. We are appearing to have some technical difficulties.
I mean, I think that just tells you a lot. I mean, the Democrats clearly feel very good about where they're at. I mean, Alex couldn't even hear us. We could barely hear him over all the crowd background noise. So I think that really tells us all that we need to know.
Well, moving on to another burning topic that has been a huge topic in terms of this race. the topic has been recreational use of marijuana. Although this issue is not on the ballot, this election's candidates could ultimately decide whether marijuana becomes available for recreational use. With more information, here's UI7's Rory Higgins to give us more.
Marijuana legalization has been one of the most contentious issues debated among candidates leading up to the midterm elections next Tuesday. Governor Bruce Rauner has publicly stated his opinion that legalizing marijuana for recreational use would be a bad idea. Meanwhile, his opponent, J.B. Pritzker, has promised not only to legalize marijuana, but has a plan to repair the racial injustice surrounding the issue. Here to explain how criminalization of the drug has racial ties is U of I student Drake Materi, also a member of the Black United Front organization on campus.
There's a great book called New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, great book. I read it around 4 times. The real thing was crack cocaine, crack cocaine, crack cocaine on this. That's what you saw on TV. But the myth is, in reality, instead of the crack pen being taken down, they were really just taking weed offenders, who had weed, not weed offenders, but drug offenders who were using weed or dealing weed, right? And so I don't say I'm exact on this. I believe our numbers said around 80% of all of those who were actually incarcerated at the time were actually for weed possession or weed dealing, not crack cocaine. And it was between a certain time, probably like in the 1980s. Again, 5% differential.
But even if Pritzker does as promised, students may be disappointed, according to Justin Brown, Director of the Office for Student Conflict Resolution and Associate Dean of Students.
Truly making it legal is going to impact university policy all that much. We are still obligated by the Safe and Drug-Free Schools Act, which is federal legislation, and our policies are still as much based on federal law as state law. And so even though we are a state institution, until there is movement at the federal level, we're unlikely to be able to, substantially alter our policies. Now, what might change is what the consequences are for marijuana use, but that it would be a policy violation will probably remain even after any substantial change at the state level.
Only time can tell if this election will make Illinois just the 10th state to legalize the drug. With UI7 News, I'm Rory Higgins.
Alrighty, this is Will Bros. Sitting next to me, I have UI7 reporter Eric with a quick update on the balance of powers as well. Eric, what do you have for us?
Yes, we have a major projection about the balance of power in Congress. NBC News is projecting that the Democrats will take control of the U.S. House of Representatives. They are projecting that after all the votes have been counted, they will have 229 seats in the House. They are also projecting that the Republicans will maintain their majority in the United States Senate. They are projecting that after all the votes are counted, they will end up with a majority of 53 to 47. So this is kind of how we expected the night to go. We expected the Democrats to do very well in the House and for the Republicans to do very well in the Senate.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very obvious that the blue wave has taken into effect this election season, and it's very interesting to see a lot of these polling come out. Thank you very much. So, currently we are calling UI7 reporter Becca and to talk about some more results and updates that are coming up. Becca, are you on the line?
Oh, so apparently whatever she said...
We're still trying to contact Becca right now, so I think I might as well talk to you a little bit more about some facts on your new governor, Bruce Rauner.
So there are no volunteers, I just put the media, whatever Becca was saying.
Oh. Looks like we'll be going to break right now. Stay tuned for more on election coverage in a bit.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that. Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
For many decades, the population in Illinois was steadily...
Hey, America. We need to have a little talk.
We've got more food in our country than we know what to do with. Food at the grocery store and food in the vending machines, fast food, health food, and seafood. We've got so much food that anything people don't buy, we just throw out. Yet 17 million kids in America struggle with hunger. That ain't right. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Yeah, I made that up. It's kind of catchy. Hello, people. This isn't rocket science. We could solve hunger today. To start, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. That's a website, duh. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Alrighty, we have UI7 reporter Becca on the line right now. She is at the Brookins Center to give us an update on voter turnout. Becca, are you on the line right now?
Yes, hello.
All right, Becca, could you just give us an update on the atmosphere right now and any updates that you have?
Yeah, sure. So right now, all of the votes are in. We have 100% votes in, and there's 64% voter turnout this year in Champaign County. What's kind of been interesting is that Gordy Holton actually lost his race to Darlene Kloppel for the county executive race, which is very interesting because this is a new position for the county, so it's going to be interesting to see what she does with it. Gordy was the former county clerk, and now Aaron Amos has won that race, so Aaron will be taking over officially for the Champaign County clerk. And, yeah, so we know in 2014 there was a 49% voter turnout, so it has gone up to 64% this year. So definitely an increase in voting, and that's kind of the updates we have right now from Brookins.
Becca, I think you brought it up recently. Do you have any points or just quick updates to briefly talk about the county executive position as well as that being a new position for Champaign County?
Yeah, so this is going to be the chief executive of the county, and they administer parts of the county government that are not controlled by other officials. A big part of their job is they present the first proposed district map of the county board, and there's been a lot of talk with gerrymandering in the district and kind of independent districting and seeing how that should go about. Kloppel was the winner, so she... three of her big points she wanted to bring about were that this is going to be a 6-year plan that ties internal county administration to the county services in Champaign. She wants to look at the land use plan and zoning regulations, and she's really big on safer jail, which we'll see those all take place in the upcoming couple years.
All righty. Thank you, Becca.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
In the studio right now, I have UI7 reporter Brian Binns with an update on the Attorney General's race.
Yeah, so obviously Erica Harold conceded earlier tonight. She took to the podium in Champaign to address her supporters. She said she was proud of her campaign, and she'd called the winner, Kwame Raoul, Democrat, and congratulated him on winning. Just about 30 minutes later, Raoul delivered his victory speech in Chicago, and he said he'll do everything he can to fight Trump and his policies, and also touted that Illinois will still have access to abortion should the Supreme Court overturn Roe v. Wade due to a House bill that he supported when he was a state senator.
Thank you for that update, Brian. So now to wrap up the show, we are going to start talking about just election ads as well, and just in general, things that we noticed coming up to the election. One thing that we noticed was the amount of ad coverage that we saw on specific networking things such as Hulu. On Hulu, you could see the things like...
I'm back.
Oh, welcome back.
Yeah, actually, we have breaking news that Rodney Davis has taken a 0.2 percentage lead in his race. So that's interesting.
Oh, he's a lead.
Yes, he just took the lead by percentage points, like decimal points.
Well, that is some promising information for the Republican Party with this blue wave coming in right now with a lot of Democratic candidates taking the win or the W for a lot of positions.
Yeah, but now we go to Taylor, who has an update from where she is at. Taylor, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, we're doing great, Taylor. How are you?
We're good. It's been a good day for the Democrats in Illinois.
Yeah, so can you just talk a little bit about what the atmosphere has been there and just how it's been going in this last hour or so?
Yes, the atmosphere is very emotional right now. There's a lot of people in tears, especially millennials. They are very hopeful for the next election. In particular, every countywide position has won by over 10 points for the Democratic Party, so they are truly very happy and emotional.
Yeah, and just can you walk us through just, when the results were announced and, what's next? I mean, what else are the Democrats looking at for, the next hour or so? What comes next?
Well, it seems that there's a lot of fellowship and a lot of just regrouping with one another. They seem to be very emotional and just hugging each other right now and just listening to the music and the musicians.
All right, Taylor, thank you so much for that update.
Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. We have breaking news, or an update at least.
We have some breaking news. CNN has projected that the New York Democratic congressional nominee Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be the youngest woman to ever serve in the history of Congress. The 29-year-old is highly favored to win over her candidate, Republican Anthony Pappas, in the race for the 14th congressional district. Currently, Republican Elise Stefanik is the youngest member to serve in Congress, who was elected at the age of 30 in 2014. Ocasio-Cortez assisted former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders during his campaign. She additionally worked under the late Senator Ted Kennedy. A graduate of Boston University, Ocasio-Cortez would also hold the title of being the first representative to fully reflect the demographics of the 14th district, according to CNBC. Ocasio-Cortez told Now This that her district is 70% people of color and they have never had a person of color represent them before. Approximately 82% of the votes have been counted, and with Ocasio-Cortez receiving 79.3% of the votes, holding a steady 66.5% lead over Pappas's 12.8% of the votes.
Quite a story.
That is quite a story, I will say.
I think I saw a story a little while ago that Cortez was actually a bartender like 4 years ago, so she's made quite the 180 and truly trying to make a difference now. But this has been a very eventful night. Obviously, the two biggest races, Attorney General and Governor, were decided really early, but across the country, not even Illinois, but also Illinois, votes still coming in, a lot of races still to be decided, especially the Rodney Davis and Betsy Londrigan race, which is really tight, obviously, down to within a percentage point. So that's something to watch. But it's been a lot to handle today.
Absolutely, and for a quick recap of the night, we have had Bruce Rauner concede to Democratic candidate J.B. Pritzker for the governor's race. We have also had, what was the other race that?
Attorney General.
Kwame Raoul, yep. Beat the Republican representative.
Erica Harold. She conceded.
That's right.
Shortly after Rauner conceded too. So very quickly, those were back-to-back defeats for the Republicans, who now really pin all their hopes on Rodney Davis. I'd also like to point out that this was a statistic reported by the Chicago Tribune that 55.6% of voters came out to vote, the highest in 32 years.
That's insane. 3 decades.
Yeah, so that's a lot. But it's a lot of voters. I think the most in a while. Obviously, over 3 decades is a lot. And you're seeing it. Even when we talked to Taylor Howard, she said that the millennials really came out and made a difference this midterm election.
It just goes to show, too, on a previous story that I worked on in terms of, especially with the TV ads and the ad campaigns, like we don't really know exactly what's working. And based on when I talked to a professor in advertising, he literally said that, like, it all depends on what is happening on the time and who is that candidate at the time and what he has done. Clearly, there's lots of turmoil and tension right now in both parties, and so that's clearly caused this great turnout for voting in this midterm election.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been so much happening, especially with someone like J.B. Pritzker running, who had never run for office before. He had equity in a chain of Hyatt hotels before. Weren't really sure how that was going to go, especially with Rauner having already been in for 4 years. And then Kwame Raoul, he won. I think having the backing of someone like Barack Obama definitely helped him. But just a lot of interesting results, a lot of different things that happened. And, you know, it was interesting to follow it all night.
too. Oh, absolutely. It's definitely very interesting to see where this Davis and Londrigan race will end up, especially with the amount of Democratic representatives that have come out with the win, with the Republican candidates conceding. We will see where this is all headed. One quick update. According to CNN, they are projecting that Betsy Londrigan Dirksen is the winner over Davis in the Illinois seat for congressional seat election. So this will be very interesting to see if this is confirmed later on in the polling results.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost a sweep we're looking at in the top 3 races, so that really could be something there. Obviously would be a big blow for the Republicans, but I mean, again, it's close. I think we talked about earlier, it's within like a percentage point of each other, so that'll probably go down to the wire. But CNN is reporting that, and no one else is saying it, so obviously that could change. But it's 9:57 as we start to wrap up here. Thank you to our reporters who are out there, Isaac Trotter, Taylor Howard, Rebecca Woods, Alex, everybody that we talked to, Delia. Thank you to Eric and Brian for coming in with their stories. It was great to hear from them. And thank you to our producer, Tatiana Perry. She really did one heck of a job putting this all together. She crushed it. So thank you to her.
As well as our co-producer, Tim Glitzmore. Thank you very much, Tim, for all the help and time that you've put into this broadcast as well.
Yeah, Jared for running the board. He did an excellent job with that. Gabby also helping running the phones. But everybody did a great job. Thank you to everyone for making this go really smoothly. Great job, guys. Awesome. You allow us to look better. You guys did great. It was awesome. But yeah, this was great. I think the one thing that we can all agree on that is the most positive result from tonight is no more Hulu ads, and that's all that matters, folks. We can watch it all. We can watch our shows in peace now. It's great. So with saying that, for myself, I'm Jake Hassan, and for Will, thank you for listening to our live UI7 election show. We'll now throw it back to the team at Richmond Studios. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you again.
And I'm Aaron Navarro. Illinois has a new governor as J.B. Pritzker takes the top spot in the state. UI7 News has those results and nationwide results for your 2018 midterm elections.
It was an early concession from Republican incumbent Governor Bruce Rauner. He conceded to Democrat J.B. Pritzker around 8 o'clock tonight. Pritzker's victory for Illinois governor came only 1 hour after polls closed. Democrats across the state are celebrating tonight, and UI7's Addie Ippenson joins us with more.
Yes, so I actually went to the Canopy Club, which is over here on campus, and talked to some of the Democrats in the area that were there celebrating. And like you said, we talked about the governor's race. They're very excited for the things that J.B. Pritzker could bring to Springfield. Obviously, it was decided very early in the night, so now they're celebrating some more things throughout the evening too that I'm sure going to talk about. But yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how it works out with the Attorney General race most likely being Democrat as well. Illinois. And then the Speaker of the House obviously is still Mike Madigan, so it's going to be all in Democratic control again. So we'll see what the Canopy Club, what people said at the Canopy Club, I think we have that now. I'm here with Illinois Democrats who are already starting to celebrate some outcomes of the election. Governor Bruce Rauner just conceded to J.B. Pritzker, so more than likely, J.B. Pritzker is going to be the next governor of Illinois.
Governor Rauner, when he was in office, vetoed a lot of very common sense gun legislation that would have saved a lot of lives in Illinois, and I look forward to seeing Governor Pritzker do great things to keep our communities and our whole state safer from gun violence.
In Urbana, I'm Addie Ibbinson, UI7 News.
J.B. Pritzker will be the next governor of Illinois and will be having a position with a contentious and scandalous history for the state. Rauner's tenure as a governor wasn't as scandalous as his predecessors, but he spent much of his time in office clashing with Illinois Speaker of the House, Mike Madigan. Their disagreements were particularly apparent in the failure to get a budget going, as Illinois went without a budget for 793 straight days. While Rauner was able to submit a budget earlier this year, his disagreements with Madigan led to a rather uneventful stint as governor. With the election of a governor whose political ideology aligns with Madigan, Illinois residents can expect and likely voted for a more effective state government and more bills and such to go through, especially when it's all Democratic.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how the legislature changes with the Democratic head of state. So we'll see if all of his, priorities and beliefs go through as, we take this new governor.
Definitely.
Well, moving on now to the race for the 13th Congressional District, Democratic challenger Betsy Dirksen Londrigan is the projected winner for the 13th District, and she is unseating incumbent Rodney Davis. Londrigan's win is another important seat to flip the Democrats. According to CNN, the Democrats have the House with 151 seats, compared to the Republicans also having 151 seats as well. Going back to the 13th District with 100% of the precincts voting, overall, Londrigan leads Davis by 10,000 votes. And in Champaign County, Londrigan got 69% of the votes, while Davis has 30%. So all big news here. The Democrats taking the House and Londrigan beating Rodney Davis. So all big stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And we were looking at the map of Illinois as a whole. And if Londrigan definitely does take the 13th district, it's going to be the most blue district in the southern portion of Illinois. You only see that blue up in the Chicagoland area. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how this shakes up Illinois as a whole, but then obviously the country as well, as she maybe heads to D.C. after this. So.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to note that she took a red district and made it blue, and we're the only blue district for a while in the Midwest. So it's very interesting to note that this mostly suburban and rural community, compared to just Champaign's urban community, has turned blue.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, taking a look at results from across the country, the U.S. House of Representatives is now projected to be controlled by the Democrats. So this is a flip from the Republicans. While many races are still yet to be called, Democrats will likely have control over 218 seats. However, the U.S. Senate is now fully red.
That's right, Andrea. NBC News is reporting that the Republican Party will maintain control of the Senate tonight. Democrats only really needed to flip 2 seats to get control of the whole House or the whole Senate, but it looks like the GOP has done enough on the defense to maintain their control. But speaking of the Senate and the House, there were a lot of firsts tonight, right, Andrea?
Yes, there were definitely a ton of firsts tonight regarding the House and the Senate, and I have those right here. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from one of New York's congressional districts, she will be the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. Also, in Colorado, they have their first openly gay governor, which is very exciting to note. Another first for Congress is the first Muslim women in Congress. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are the first women to diversify Congress. So
definitely diversifying it, and we're kind of seeing that anyways with a lot of women on the ballot. So the races are kind of turning out like that.
For sure.
Definitely, definitely. In other races, Democrat Kwame Raoul will be Illinois' next Attorney General after beating University of Illinois alum Erica Harold, who's from Urbana, actually. Democrat Susana Mendoza has also won the race for comptroller. And I'm here with my political correspondent, Roger Blanco, our expert. What do you think of this? Break it down for us.
I would say it's a huge win, I would say.
and especially as we just found out with the Champaign campaign executive, Darlene Klopel just came out with a huge win against Gordy Hilton that many people did not expect to happen. Some people would say is an upset, you would kind of say. And it's interesting that Gordy actually had the clerk job and dropped out in order to get this job, to run for the Champaign exec. So this is it's an odd situation for him because he's left out, to dry, I would say. So it's interesting to say that. So Darlene Klopel is our Champaign's first county executive.
Yeah, brand new position and all that. Again, Democrat Susana Mendoza has won the race for Comptroller. Mendoza's opponent, Darlene Singer, conceded earlier tonight. And in the race for Secretary of State, incumbent Democrat Jesse White got 68% of the Champaign vote with 83% reporting, though we do have 100% now, and Jesse White actually got 68%. So that's your updated numbers right there. And in our final race at the state level, Democrat Michael Friericks had defeated Jim Dodge for the state treasurer. Friericks is ahead with 67% of the vote to Dodge's 30%, with 83% of the precincts reporting, though with 100% now as we're getting in, Friericks has 67% compared to Dodge's 29%. So it's looking like the state's turning blue so far, at least in Champaign County.
Yeah, I think that's huge because we kind of touched on it earlier, how usually down south it's usually low red and it's blue and up in Chicago area. So it's kind of nice to see a different change, a different perspective that people are getting around this area.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how it just affects the shape of Illinois as a whole. It's obviously been a very interesting night for sure, as all of this is coming together.
Speaking of Chicagoland area, Sean Casten won the 6th district of Illinois. He got the late push from the sponsorships from Obama, and he defeated GOP incumbent Peter Roskam. As far as Lauren Underwood, she is up by 3%, so that vote is still a little, up in the air. There's still a toss up there.
Yeah, definitely. We do have some updated numbers for you tonight on the House of Representatives. So according to CNN, 155 seats have been secured for the Democrats, leaving them to keep the House as opposed to the 153 seats on the Republican side. 40 seats in the Senate are for the Democrats after tonight's midterm elections, which polls are still closing in the West, and there are 50 seats that the Republicans have secured in the Senate. So we've got all this up-to-date stuff coming in still tonight.
Yeah. And it was kind of crazy because all 435 seats were open in the House. Open in the sense you still had your ones that were concretely red, concretely blue, but it's still a lot of seats to be voted for.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how the relationship works out with the House if it does turn blue, and then you'll obviously still have a red Senate and then a red White House. So to see the three, it's, you can't forget about what's going on in the White House too. It's going to definitely shape up to be an interesting relationship between the three of those and how that works out. And I know also the Republicans in the House had record amounts of retirements too, so just people that chose not to run for re-election, and so that definitely played a part in, I think, who was running to begin with, and then also who was getting re-elected. So I don't think we had ever had this many in recent history, at least, the amount of people that retired out of office rather than just chose not to run for re-election. So.
And speaking of the White House that you touched on earlier, it appears that President Trump will not be making any statements tonight following these midterm elections. So that is new information from CNN. So we are just waiting to see if the president will make a comment on the Senate being held by the Republicans and also by the House being now blue. So I know that the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, was speaking earlier. She said that tonight is considered a win, so we'll see if he'll elaborate on that tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of just turnout overall, Champaign County, 64% came out to vote. That's
a lot, yeah. Especially I was at the Union the other day, and literally you can see from the line just curving up the stairs. It was all the way on the 4th floor. You couldn't really move, so that's awesome to hear. So I'm glad people started to show out and vote.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think at the end of the day, whether you're voting for the right or the left or something in between, it's just important to get that vote out and realize the process. And just obviously on campus, we are the millennial generation, and that I think we've seen through the results tonight the effect that has had. both in Champaign specifically, but then all across the state of Illinois too. So it's definitely good to see the civic engagement, whether it went the way you wanted it to or not. Like, it's good to just see people out there and expressing that right to vote that we all have.
I definitely heard a lot from other students on campus saying that they had friends that were voting that never considered voting until that social media push that has been so huge on all platforms. I know every time I open up Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, there's always something right at the top of the page that says today's election day or go early vote. So it's just super interesting to see this major push by, you know, almost every facet of our lives getting millennials to go vote.
And Illinois, it's so easy to vote early, and then also just the vote the day of. Illinois has same-day voter registration, and it really seems like a lot of people did that today. I know I had a couple friends wake up before their class at 9:30 and went in and they voted and they were out in 5 minutes. And so that's pretty cool to see that you could do that so easy on a campus. And then I'm sure that's how it was all across Illinois too.
And just the recap for today, Pritzker won. So J.B. Pritzker turns the governor's mansion to blue. Kwame Raoul won. And county executive, isn't that right, Roger? Is
Darlene Copel. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. House is blue, Senate is red. I do want to say, in 2016, the total turnout in Champaign County for the presidential election, which is a very big, notable election, had around 69% of turnout. So to compare that with the midterms, which historically are not even close to the presidential elections, 64, only 5%, that's pretty close.
That's pretty awesome. I think it just goes to show how much, like we've been talking about this all night, just the push to go vote, I think was bigger than I've ever remembered it being, definitely this year. And obviously something worked, something clicked in people that this is definitely something they felt like they should do this 2018 year.
People saw it as their civic duty and saw it as really important to either support the current administration or go against the current administration. So both sides were really encouraged to stand by what they believe in and actually, you know, make their voices heard.
And with Champaign County, it's given us a nice sense of closure. We've been covering the election the past 4 or 5 hours.
It's been a very hectic day,
It's always good to have an ending and to know where our country stands at the end of the night. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you guys did great.
No problem. You guys absolutely killed it.
We appreciate it.
Handshake.
Our correspondent, our expert
everyone.
Roger Blanco is right here.
That does it for UI7's election coverage. We'd also like to thank our crew for sticking with us all night, working around the clock. And thank you to our audience for joining us tonight as well.
A lot of thanks to Ryan for helping us out. Ryan Monahan helped us kind of get ready and let us know what races to look at. Thanks to the Brookings Center and the Champaign County Clerk for continually updating. I'd say numbers were coming in.
Yeah, if we didn't have that,
So
then
fast.
we would have literally like no idea. So that's
And we'd
awesome.
like to thank Ken, of course.
And our technical director, Ken,
Our
for
fearless
getting this
leader,
started.
the man behind the curtain. Yes, Ken.
And if you missed any of our coverage or just want to see any more of our stories, please find us on YouTube for Andrea Flores, Addie Ippenson, and Roger Blanco. I'm Aaron Navarro. This has been your Decision 2018. We'll see you next time.